Tired of flashy gear promises that leave you empty-handed and ultimately fishless? As someone who's literally made a living catching fish, and I even wrote the book on it, I know firsthand how easy it is to get fooled by all the marketing tricks out there. And so in this video, I'm going to reveal to you the 5 biggest fishing scams out there, and I'm going to show you how to avoid them. This way your next fishing trip can be hassle-free and, of course, wallet-friendly. For years, I bought into this myth and this lie that you needed to buy different fishing lures for different months of fishing. And back in my day, it was Saturday morning TV shows. And then, of course, now you have YouTube where they do the same thing. The same scam exists, it's just a different platform these days. And of course, scam number 1 is when you see a video out there that's like, best 5 lures for fall or best 5 lures for September. You know, you should look at that and immediately identify it's a scam to get you to buy more lures and not necessarily catch more fish, but also, where is that video even taking place? Like, is it somebody telling you to buy lures in New Jersey? Well, your tactics in New Jersey in September are going to be much different than your tactics in Texas, right? You have to take everything in context. But that's the deadly marketing cycle, right? Present to you a bunch of crap, overwhelm you as much as possible, make you think you got the wrong stuff, go back to the store, buy more stuff, get more overwhelmed, catch less fish, go back, buy more stuff. The cycle repeats itself over and over again. It'll make you broke, drive you crazy, and really won't catch any fish. So with that being said, there is no such thing as seasonal lures. There's no such thing as best lures in September. There's no such thing as best lures in August. There are just lures that you could use and that you should become good at to find active feeding fish. And that is the number 1 name of the game, is how are you gonna find those fish? And then once you find the fish, then you can worry about the absolute perfect lure or bait to present in front of them in order to trigger bites. Now, like I said earlier, when I was younger, I used to watch Saturday morning TV shows to try to learn how to fish. Now, what I didn't tell you was, I didn't only watch these shows, I would record them and I would watch them back. These guys would come up with like these mythical time periods and mythical seasons of fish where you had to match your gear perfectly to a transition period, right? Then when I eventually went to go work on fishing boats, I would repeat some of the terminology on there, right? Fishing boat out in the ocean, I'd be talking about the fall transition and the fall turnover and this kind of stuff. And they would look at me, they'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? So scam number 2 here is to avoid these like mythical notions of seasonal changes, things that are going to dictate a very special movement of fish that require you to get very specific gear. Absolute nonsense. And one of the biggest ones you're going to hear is in the fall when they talk about fall turnover and fall transitions. They're not even the same terms, and they don't apply on every body of water. Hence me, when I got on fishing boats talking about a fall turnover, and we're in the ocean where there was no turnover. That actually does not exist. Now, before I describe what a fall turnover is, I want you to imagine a bowl of soup. Okay, it's boiling hot soup, and you're like, man, this is too hot, I can't drink it. So you grab a couple of ice cubes, and you throw it in the soup, and you notice that ice melts very quick because the surface temperature is so hot, and then you'll actually notice if you pay attention to the soup, the liquid will be mixing. That really cold entered water on the top will actually work its way through the water column, like it'll spin it around and cool the entire bowl of soup. Well, that's essentially what happens in the fall turnover. So in the summertime, that surface water is going to be really warm, and maybe like 10 feet down, 20 feet down, every lake is different. You'll have what's called a thermocline, and it's a stable water temperature. As the temperatures drop and cools that surface water very, very quickly, just like your ice cube does when you throw it on the surface of your soup, right? Ice doesn't sink to the bottom of the soup bowl, it just lays there on the surface. And then the water mixes and cools. And that's exactly what happens in the fall turnover. It mixes all the water together and spreads everything out and really equalizes both the oxygen and temperature of the lake throughout the entire lake. The thing is, that does not happen on every lake or river or the ocean or bays. That is just something thrown around out there to make it sound really complicated so people could sell you on more crap. And fall turnover and exactly what I just described only happens in lakes where you don't have a lot of water movement. So if you're fishing on a river or in a tidal system, you're not gonna have a fall turnover. And if you really like these tips and you wanna bring these tips with you anywhere you go fishing, feel free to check out my new book, Catch More Fish by Fishing with Johnny Fish a Lot, where we actually break these things down in great detail and I show you all the pictures and charts to help you out so that you have this advice with you at all times. So I'll leave a link in the description below. Go ahead. I'd really love to hear what you think about it. Thanks so much, Fish Lots. Really appreciate it. It's also a great way to support the channel. So once I went out and I bought a $50 lure, and this is like 20 years ago, so that was actually quite expensive for me anyway to spend on a lure. It was a new rave. It was going to catch all these striped bass, and I had this big rock pile that I always fish, and I knew there was loaded with fish in there. So I cast the Sabile out, but I wouldn't quite cast it into those rocks because I was so nervous about losing that $50 lure. I caught 0 fish. I finally get brazen enough, because I'm tired of catching no fish, throw it into the rocks where the fish lived, got it snagged, of course, lost my $50 lure. So of course, after that, I just tied on a basic, like a weedless, soft plastic paddle tail, threw it in the rocks, and I caught 6 fish. Just like that. And then I wondered myself, I could have saved myself 50 bucks, a lot of heartache, but how many fish did I miss that day by avoiding casting my lure into an area I knew they lived, but was a little hazardous for my super expensive lure? So scam number 3 here is buying into the overhyped, overexpensive fishing lures. Now, it wasn't until I learned that you should really focus on getting good at a variety of lures that can be fished very versatilely, where my catch absolutely skyrocketed. And so these next couple of tips will absolutely skyrocket your catch as well. You just have to know what to look for and avoid the scam here. You pick versatile lures, right? Lures that you could use that fish many different areas and many different environments and teach you where those fish are. That is the most important lesson, is learn where the fish are going to be, and versatile search baits can do that for you. These are baits like spinner baits, chatter baits, weedless swimming baits like soft plastics, like a paddle tail. This could be weedless fluke baits, again, like stick baits that you fish. Bucktails are great. Bucktails and soft plastics are great. Jig heads and soft plastics are great. Lures that allow you to fish high in the water column, low in the water column. You can fish them fast, you can fish them slow, and you can fish a variety of different areas where you don't have to worry about getting hung up. And if you do end up getting hung up, it's not a big deal if it's just a hook and one piece of soft plastic versus $150 glide bait. More often than not, your lure selection needs to come from where the fish are, where they're feeding, like in the water column, we call that the strike zone, and the profiles of your bait, right? What are the fish eating? Are they eating threadfin shad, bluegill, gizzard shad? That is how you match your lures to the fish in their location. You don't just match the lures day to day based on marketing and how much the lure cost you. So now to understand scam number 4, I'm gonna bring you to Bass Pro Shop. So I remember a time I was in Bass Pro Shop and there's a TV monitor in front of every aisle. And so I'm in Bass Pro Shop just looking for the few lures I need, and a guy comes on with his fancy shirt, all the stickers on there from all his sponsors, and he's got this massive amount of gear laid out on his boat, and he basically tells everybody, if you want to catch fish like me, you need all this gear. The more gear, the more fish you're going to catch. More gear you have does not equal the more fish you catch. The opposite, in many cases, can be true. Now think about it. If you have 18 rods with you, okay, rigged up 18 different ways, you're not actually gonna focus on what's important, and that's fish behavior and fish location. You're gonna worry about what lure to use. Oh man, this rod and reel combo will do the trick. You throw it out there, not catch anything. Oh, maybe it's this one. You're not catching, oh, maybe it's that one, right? You just need to figure out where those fish are, what their preferences are in the day. Again, just using some versatile core lures that'll tell you that, will tell you where the fish are, and then you can hone in your tactics from there. But the amount of overwhelm that people experience with all this gear is crazy, and it really bogs down their fishing. 12 million anglers over the last year have actually left the sport due to overwhelm, due to confusion, due to lack of foundational knowledge, as just a few of the reasons why so many people left the sport of fishing. And YouTube and these marketing scams have a ton to do with that. So for scam here number 5, I'll tell you a story where I used to keep a detailed calendar by the date each year when I went fishing. So if I went fishing for largemouth bass and I caught a fish on like the south side of the lake, I would mark that south side of the lake, whatever date. And then the next year I would look to mimic that exact same trend, because to me, the fish were going to be in the same spots every year. And if I knew where those spots were, if I had the secret sauce that I could build over years of documenting this stuff, I'll really be able to catch a lot more fish than anybody else. Didn't work at all. Actually worked to the opposite. I wasted a ton of time documenting absolutely nothing because I never understood fish behavior. So scam number 5 is making you believe that these fish are super predictable each year in their migration patterns, and that, these YouTubers and online marketers can put specific boxes over specific fish to sell you specific gear. And let me tell you something, it just does not work like that. So much garbage out there about these mass migrations, like these fish are magically going to show up in this lake in this one spot. And if you're not ready for them, you're going to miss out, fish-a-lots. You're not going to catch as many fish as your buddy. Then of course you run out to the store and you buy all the crap. Right, it doesn't work like that. Even in the ocean, it doesn't work like that. Yes, in the ocean, you do have migratory patterns at fish, but it's all dependent on the things we've been talking about, like water temperature, different water conditions, bait, where the bait's located. There's a lot of times where winter and fall and spring striper have been doing their annual migrations, and the schools will stop at different places. They'll be further offshore. They'll come way inshore. They'll only make it to a certain state. I remember guys in Maryland were complaining one day because all the fish just hung off in New Jersey all winter, and none of them went back into the Chesapeake like they were supposed to do, like human beings were telling them to do. At the end of the day, they're wild animals, and you need to track them as wild animals and understand their fish behaviors. The temperature of the water was perfect. There's plenty of bunker around. The fish were happy where they were at, so they're not going to keep swimming burning calories where there might be no fish for them to eat, because they'll die. Now, although all these tips in this video are incredibly powerful, if you don't know how to avoid these common fishing mistakes, none of these tips will work. So go ahead and click on this video right here, where I cover the most common fishing mistakes a lot of anglers do that cost them an absolute ton of fish. This way, I could get you on those fish and get you catching a lot of fish, really enjoying your time out there on the water. So thanks for tuning in, Fish Lots. I'll see you out there on the water.